history, past and present for you, meeting friends old and new. Streaming Wednesdays and Saturdays too, with founder members Paul and Sue. The smiles that we bring are a heritage thing. HDPP, keeping history alive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Where local memories survive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Film clips, photos, memories and friends, helps a dreary night go by. We're in Hinckley, 6 of the best, stupendous quizzical high. The smiles that we bring are a heritage thing. HDPP, keeping history alive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Where local memories survive. HDPP, streaming HDPP live. Let's take you back in time. A community affair. We'll take you for a ride. Henson's Cab will take you there. We're making history. HDPP, chapter pauses. History aside. Local pauses. Streaming HDPP live. Betty is our queen bee. The sweetest honey candy. Dangerous dead, here again. HDPP live. Hey, you know it, keep it HDPP.
And here we go. Good evening. Oh, hello. Are you all right? Are you all right? Okay. Come on in. Sit down. Rest your wallet. That's good. Good evening and welcome to HDPP Live for the final time this season, that is. We'll be back in the autumn. I can hear the cheers all going around. In fact, I think when they heard that, oh, thank goodness for that. Yeah, this is our last live stream of the season, because next week, well, we're well and truly back into spring and whatnot. You'll have light evenings. You'll be wanting to do more things around home and in the garden than sit looking at this silly old face for eternity. That's for sure. Anyway, welcome along. Glad you could make it. And as I say, being the last programme, of course, of this particular season, just got one or two nice little bits and bobs for you. We've got an absolute perler of a quiz for all you quiz lovers tonight. We've got a great local feature about the steam engine rally, and we're also looking what you can get for £1 in the 1960s. That's also a good one. So we've got quite a nice little evening all lined up for you. All we want you to do is just to participate. I mean, as you can see by looking in the chat room, which is over that way. No, that way. I was getting the wrong way round. It is that way. There were plenty of people already in there. So first of all, I want to say hello to people in the chat room because this will be my last chance otherwise. Anne Hunt was first in. Hello, Anne. I know you was in town yesterday for a big event that the secrecy and the layers of everything, all very sort of undercover, but we're delighted to say that we knew you were in town. And congratulations to Darren and to Steph as they got married yesterday. Congratulations. I think that actually deserves a little bit of a clap as well. Well done. It's about time. Make an honest woman of you, Steph. But you had a lovely day. So congratulations. Love and happiness from everybody here at HDPP. And we look forward to seeing you, of course, very, very soon. The Starnboroughs are in this evening. Good evening, the Starnboroughs. Nice to see you at the hymns yesterday afternoon in the church. Mrs. Smuggley is already in and waiting, as is Dave B on his boat. And he says, good evening for the last time before summer. Yeah, that's right. Yes, it's going to. There must be a song in there somewhere that we could have used. But however, Pat Galloway's here with one last mighty Kiwi. Thank you, Pat. And as I say, thanks for joining us this evening. Jeff and Anna are here tonight, along with Tash. She's here saying hello. And Steve down on the farm is here. Hello, good evening, everybody. Daniel Coburn joins us, along with Dangerous Den. A big thank you to Den yesterday for escorting me down to the scanning session yesterday. We had quite a busy day. I was bushing at the end of it. I really, really will. I'll tell you about it in a few moments' time. And David, good evening, Paul, Sue, and everybody in the room, along with the likes of Mr. Smugly, who is probably going to try and be as smug as he can for the last time this season, doing that as well. And people, Dennis wishing Steph and Darren all the very best, of course. There you go, Tasha. Right, okay then. So as I say, it's been a busy week actually. We found ourselves on Thursday evening in Sapcut, and we went to the Sapcut Heritage Group, and you know, they're a lovely, very friendly little group. And they are always looking for new members to join them, particularly. And they were telling me about some of the projects that they've got going for their, for the village heritage. So they made us very, very welcome. Nice cup of tea and some slices of cake. You can't beat the cake when you go out doing a talk. So that was nice on Thursday night. We knew that Saturday was going to be a busy day because, as I mentioned earlier, we were scanning at St Mary's Church in the morning, and then come home, wash, change, and out again. And then we had the old school hymns and songs. And do you know, it was once again, it always amazes me, a lovely, lovely afternoon. We had a lovely selection of hymns, and even if I got my notes the wrong way round at one point, I tried to finish it a tad early, and I was quickly put back onto the right lines, and it was super. And once again, afterwards, followed by plenty of tea and cake. In fact, at the end, I bought a plate of cake home, which was quite a novelty because we don't do cake in this house because it's one of the bylaws of living at this particular address. I don't know why, but it's lovely to bring some cake in, and it's great. So we were living on cake for the rest of the day. So coming the evening, yours truly was well and truly bushed. After a shower, it collapsed onto the settee. Next minute, it was the middle of Saturday night. But however, I'm going on a little bit. Other people have joined us in the chat room this evening. Well, I can see that, Jane, little Jane's here. Hello, Jane. And Carol's here. Carol, it was lovely to see you yesterday afternoon. It was really good. And she said how much she enjoyed yesterday's school assembly. That's okay. We can call it that, yeah. And once again, she's passing on her congratulations to Steph and Darren and wishing them many happy years together. Oh, and even the Kirbys are coming now. You see, now Jan was telling us yesterday she got a better offer yesterday because I said, are you coming later on? She said, oh no, she was off boozing. However, Jan is wishing Steph and Darren all the best, of course. Lovely. And Jan said, what a lovely organ playing in the morning, because it was all part of the organathon. So they were raising funds for the organ. It was great to hear the organ going again. And so it was a great, great day. I was a bit concerned. I didn't know how many people would turn out on a Saturday afternoon. I needn't have worried. You members are you're very supportive of what we do and try and do. And it was really, really super. I enjoyed myself immensely, actually, so it was great. Thank you. Right, okay then. I've done enough of that so far. I think the best thing I could do first and foremost is set the quiz. This is our last quiz. As I say, our last programme before... Well, let's call it the summer, the spring and the summer. But we plan to be back on live stream duty again in the autumn. It'll be sort of October time, when we do the clocks. Because next weekend, this time next week, you'll look out your window and it'll be light. And there is quite a nice feeling about that, to be honest. So what we'll be doing, we'll go away for the summer from the live streams. Of course, we'll still be on Facebook, of course, and doing all our other things. But our live streams will then have a break and return again in the autumn. Right, okay then. If you're ready for the competition tonight, I didn't get this done till last night because I've been so busy in the week. So hopefully these should, we hope, stand the test of time for tonight. So I want you to test your best knowledge and get your cryptic heads on, because here we go with the quiz. Now, before we start, and and I'm making it clear now, I know I've not even gave you the questions yet, but no popping the answers in the chat room, and no popping the answers in until I tell you to at the end on cue. Last week, they're all going mad like naughty boys and girls. So we'll get that stamped out now, okay? It might be the end of term, but it's not until later this evening. We're still in school time. Okay, that's it. Jan Kirby said, yes, sir. Exactly, right. Let's get on with it. Right. Okay, then. So here's question number 1. What do the numbers 11, 69, and 88 have in common? Nice little one, this. Once again, where I go to get some of these questions, I think, oh, that's a nice one, good one. So what do the numbers 11, 69, and 88 have in common? Okay, that is your number 1. Okay, going on to our next question. Now then, I've got draw a breath. Now, a man goes out for a walk during a storm with nothing to protect him from the rain. He doesn't have a hat, a hood, or an umbrella, but by the end of the walk, there isn't a single wet hair on his head. Why doesn't the man have wet hair? There you are. More for you to think about. Some of these do my head in because I can't think laterally or whatever, you know. But there you go. So a man goes out for a walk in a storm with nothing to protect him from the rain. He doesn't have a hat, a hood, or an umbrella. But by the end of his walk, there isn't a single wet hair on his head. Why doesn't the man have wet hair? That's all you've got to ask yourself and have a think about that. Our next one, bit of a poser. What is the only country named after a woman? Guys, settle down. What's the only country named after a woman? There's some things I could say now, and I'm not going to step into that breach. So if you're into your geography, maybe you'll have the answer to that. What is the only country named after a woman? Okay. And now the ever-famous Aniogram, a popular local pub, is here. Inkwell's Last in Termite. Rearrange that, that'll give you a popular local pub. Okay, there's all the questions for tonight's competition. We'll go through them one more time in just a quick moment. I'll just let you get your Inkwell's Lasting Termite. Right, let's go through it one more time. So question number 1. What do the numbers 11, 69 and 88 all have in common? Question number 2. A man goes out for a walk during a storm with nothing to protect him from the rain. He doesn't have a hat, a hood, or an umbrella. Ella. But by the end of his walk, there isn't a single wet hair on his head. So why doesn't the man have wet hair? Being out in the rain like that. That's what we're asking tonight. Our next question. What is the only country named after a woman? There's so much you could say that, but I'm not going to. Okay. Paraphernalia is not one country, by the way, just in case. That's our third question. And finally, a nice easy anagram for you. Inkwell's Last in Termite, a popular local pub. There we go. That's our weekly quiz, our last one, of course, of this particular season. Let's see how you get on with that. Okay, then. So, what with one thing and another, as I say, it's been a busy time here at HDPP Towers. And as I say, it's going to be nice to have a little bit of time away off this screen. One, because I don't have to think of all these questions. And Jeff Wallace, he did send me an email earlier on. I did see it, Jeff. I have got no idea. I don't know the answer to your crossword question. The clue. No idea. So there we go. Okay then, so we've got some lovely features we thought tonight. I thought let's have a nice summary attraction local feature. So we're going to go look at the steam engine rally in Hinckley, one of the films we've shown before. And then after we've enjoyed the steam engine rally, we'll be, looking back to what you could get for £1 in the 1960s. Now give that a bit of thought for a moment, because obviously a lot of us then were all a damn sight younger for a start. Maybe the odd one or two that weren't even about then. But you used to see your money seemed to go so much farther back in those days. You know, you could going up the local sweet shop and getting a hoard of sweets and stuff, and still come back with some change. I used to love going in there and used to get four blackjacks and fruit salads, and still get change with half a penny and stuff. You know, oh dear. And do you know, I've been treading water all this time, waiting for the crops to get here, and they've finally done it. Just as we're finishing. Hello, crops. Marie, lovely to see you yesterday afternoon as well. And I'm glad you enjoyed our hymns, old school hymns and songs yesterday afternoon. Right, here we go then. So with no further ado, I've just got to make sure I hit the right button. Settle back while you're working on that quiz. Settle back and enjoy another golden opportunity to enjoy the Hinckley Steam Engine Rally.
I'm sure that when my grandma and granddad met at the Barwell Wakes Fair in 1925, their romance would have blossomed to the background of the steam-driven carousel, the swing boats and the cakewalk. You see, travelling fairs in Hinckley and surrounding villages were the cause of much excitement and anticipation. How lucky are we, those of us who can recall the Hinckley steam engine rallies of the late 1960s to the early 1980s. How lucky are we to have been able to sample much of the atmosphere of those old-time fairs of yesteryear, and to thrill with the same excitement at the approach of the opening of the rally field to the public. From the first steam engine rally in 1967 that was held at the old fairground along Coventry Road in the town, and then for over a decade until 1983, the steam engine rally in Hinckley was an eagerly awaited fixture on the late summer calendar of events in the town. It was always held on the first weekend in September. The rally was originally organised as a fundraiser by the parents of the 2nd Hinckley St Peter's Scout Group, and continued raising funds for other local charities until its demise. The rally field was along Sapcut Road in Burbage, at the end of the houses, at the junction of the road and the turning for Aston Flamville. The field was offered to the rally organisers by the Bailey family of Manor Farm, Burbage. Eventually the rally grew in size and in popularity, and so moved to an adjacent field also owned by the same family. For those of us that lived on that side of the town, it was a brisk walk or a jog of a mile to the rally field. The excitement would mount for a couple of days beforehand as the exhibitors and their vehicles trundled their way down London Road in the direction of the rally field. The clatter and rattle of heavy steam engine wheels and steam rollers, accompanied by the tooting of the steam horn, announced their arrival and heralded the great day when the rally would take place. The aroma of cinders in the air and the faint lingering of the smoke from the steam engine funnels helped raise the excitement levels. The rally field itself was like a gathering of the clans. Tens of steam engines, mini-engines, a mini steam engine track, vintage tractors, steam engine models, model railways, model aircraft, and model boats. There were vintage cars and vintage motorcycle displays. There was an old-time museum with vintage and bygone farm and household artefacts, and, strangely, Victorian babywear. There were what we would call vintage crafts, jewellery, lace makers, spinning wheels, weaving, beekeeping, a potter, a wheelwright, an artist, leatherwork, tapestry, patchwork. Melodic fairground organs at different parts of the rally area played old-time music. These fairground organs were all fed by punch cards which triggered each organ pipe to play. This was all incredibly old-fashioned and yet captivating. When the memories flood back, the steam rally is always bathed in glorious sunshine. I recall agricultural vehicles and steam lorries on display, and I recall a threshing machine that was belt driven by a steam engine. The steam engines were often named. Names such as Excelsior, Midnight Rambler, The Little Wonder, Starlight, Firefly, Athena, and some often carried girls' names: Hilary, Ellen, Elsa, Michelle Louise and Susan Mary. My particular favourite of all was Fiery Elias, the proud possession of the Reverend Teddy Boston from Cadeby. There were engines that were owned locally, like Lord Elphus and Titanic, which had both been owned at different times by Hinckley Urban District Council, but had been sold on for preservation and restoration. The Titanic had previously formed part of the children's play area at Richmond Park. As well as local exhibitors, people came from across the Midlands to be part of the rally. From Staffordshire and Lincolnshire, Yorkshire, Oxfordshire and Bedfordshire. In the early days at least, the Saturday evening was a gathering of the steam people at the Cross Keys pub in Burbage for a well-earned drink and a lovely party. My favourite fairground ride was the Cakewalk. 2 platforms whose movement was driven by a belt feed attached to a steam engine. The first time on the Cakewalk was the most memorable, not knowing really what to expect, and then the battle to stay upright as the platforms went up and down. Gales of uncontrollable laughter accompanied these attempts, mainly from myself, but my inability to stay standing for more than a turn of the platforms must have looked ridiculous to those watching. The rally was a heady mixture, a veritable cocktail of noise, distinctive smells of smoke of coal, old engine oil and grease, the sounds of fairground music, and the steam engine whistles tooting into a gentle breeze. There was a central events area, an arena, surrounded by these fairground stalls. I recall several of the arena events, such as the White Helmets motorcycle display team of the Royal Corps of Signals, chasing through hoops of fire and high-speed crossovers were the bread and butter of this display. The giant pyramid of riders atop each other's shoulders and managing to complete twists and turns of the arena without one of the riders falling off was the climax of the display. In 1979, helicopter rides were available. The Red Devils parachute team visited the rally on a number of occasions, and in 1982 there was even a free bus service to the local villages. In 1978 there was a flypast by the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, and in 1983 there was an aerobatic display in the skies above the rally field. The Steam Engine Rally organisers produced a programme for the 2 days of the event. The programme listed details about each steam traction engine or roller. The descriptions of the engines summed up the passion of the owners and the event organisers. Driven by Arthur Calvert, who has as much steam and engine oil in his veins as blood, ran one of those descriptions. In the 1980 programme, it looked like there were celebrity visits from Simon Groom and Peter Purvis from the TV programme Blue Peter. The exhibitors were always awarded a plaque for their participation, examples of which are preserved in Hinckley District Museum. Today you have to travel much further afield to take your children to enjoy Steam Engine Rally. The fair ended because of the constraints of increasing insurance costs and the dwindling number of active members of the organising committee. However, it's thanks to the hard work of those organisers through all those years that people of all ages were able to experience the fun of the fair locally. The Steam Engine Rally is amongst treasured golden memories of those days of balmy childhood summers.
And there they go. Good grief. There's some happy memories there of the steam engine rally, which was a great highlight of our wonderful summer months back when we were kids, and sadly no longer, obviously, as you know. And just a reminder that obviously that features on our DVD called Here Comes Summer. And we've featured the various titles, obviously, over the last season, with this being the last broadcast, last live stream of this particular season. But on that DVD, you can find St. Peter's Barbecue, the Sunday School Treats, Hinckley Carnival, and of course, the Steam Engine Rally, which all used to happen through our summer, and they were broken up just nicely, so you didn't have to wait too long for the next one to come along. And there were massive events. You don't need me to repeat that because you were there, you remember these things, and it was great anyway. So, and a lot of you actually enjoying that. You really, and there's lots of comments coming in the chat room as well, bringing back the memories. And of course, while this is that was playing, you were also working on the competition, which we've set. And if you've just joined us or just late joined us, you haven't had to go with the competition. You've got to do that. Our competition, let me just click on it very, very quickly first, if I can. Well, I've lost it. Here we go. Right. Now, as always, do not put your answers in. Be told, do not put your answers in the chat room, because people will nick your answers and pass it off as if they're own. And as I always say, if you don't know it, it doesn't matter. You've had a go. If you don't know the answer to a question, doesn't matter. We're not going to come round and put a brick through your window or anything like that. No, it's the taking part. And don't bother going onto the internet. Like I say, don't bother going to these various search engines trying to find the answer. No, if you don't know it, don't know it. I'm the first one to admit if I don't know anything, I don't know it. But however, let's go quickly through the questions one more time before our next feature this evening. Here we go. I'm making sure I'm clicking the right button here. Okay, so question number 1. What do the numbers 11, 69 and 88 all have in common? Mrs. G is currently working on this one. It's frustrating her at the minute. She says, I've got no idea. That's all. Keep working at it, darling. So what do the numbers 11, 69 and 88 all have in common? I'm not going to give any of the clues out in that, but they do have something in common. Trust me, they really, really do. Question number 2, pretty easy actually. A man goes out for a walk during a storm with nothing to protect him from the rain. He doesn't have a hat, a hood or an umbrella, but by the end of his walk there isn't a single wet hair on his head. So why doesn't the man have wet hair? He's got a secret, you know. There we go. Maybe he's using Head and Shoulders. I don't know. Other brands are available. Now then, what is the only country named after a woman? And like I say, there is no such country as paraphernalia, just in case you're wondering. But there is a country, but it's the only country that's named after a woman. Officially, that is, I suppose. So that is your question 3. And on to the anagram, of course. We're looking for a local pub this evening. Inkwell's Lasting Termite. That's all the letters you need. Rearrange that, you'll get the pub name, of course. We love having an anagram here on HDPP, and we've had this place before. Just a different mixture of letters, I suppose, really. Okay, then. So, as we move on now, let's just see what's been going on in the chat room, referring to the film we just seen. Say, amazing memories, says Pat Galloway of the Steam Engine Rally. And Mr. Smugly, he said, I've got all the answers to the quiz. I can make lots of pubs with those letters, so it got me thinking for a while. But you know what Mr. Smugly's like. He doesn't like to be beaten. Yeah. And he might be smug all the way through the summer, as I've put there, because he's got a busy summer ahead. Not only is he fixing Tashi's boat, he's also got to finish his book, and that's how I'm going to leave that. And then when we come back in the autumn, we can see, one, I want him to show a picture of the completed boat, and then I want him to show a picture of his completed book. I think that's only fair, ladies and gentlemen. How many years have we been doing live streams, and every year we feature this book? Now, with him retiring, which must be very close. Seriously, John, I know you must be about to day zero, almost. It must be in the next week, 10 days. Then you can get cracking. All right. Okay, then. Lots of great comments, once again, coming about things there. And I also want to welcome into the chat room this evening, Mickey Bavington. Hi, Mickey. Great you could join us this evening, by the way. And Mickey has been very kind to let us use his features the last couple of weeks, which we've been going through. And we've got a feature of his coming up in just a moment. What you could get for £1 in the 1960s. Now, I love these sort of things. That's why I started to feature them, because you all of a sudden think, oh, yeah, I remember this, I remember that. And it doesn't have to be local, because obviously these things were national. So it gives a great insight to the things we used to do. I mean, how many of you used to go to the local corner shop with a penny, or if you were lucky, 2 pence? I don't know. But in them days, we still had half pences, and you could get a decent selection of sweets for half p. Kids today don't know what half a p is, but of course, and we do remember the original currency when we were still on old money. But it felt that you got more money in your hand in those days. I mean, like I've always said, half a crown in your hand. You got the world in your hand if you got half a crown. You really had. And a 10 bob note. Oh, wow. When you first saved up and got your first 10 bob note, I mean, you're in the money there. It was just great memories. So we're going to be doing that with Mickey in just a few moments' time. Other things to say. We've got quite a few talks on, actually. And I want to just give you a reminder about Wednesday night, our social night at the Greyhound, of course. We have a guest speaker, Mr. Stanley Rooney. If I click this, there you go. Stan's coming to talk about the life of Ada Lovelace. We say past and present. We say that because obviously Ada's story has been added to in more recent times, as you know, with the wonderful unveiling of the statue there, which you can see in the picture outside the local college. And Stan will also give us the story behind, how he managed to raise that money. Because it's all done by public subscription, not anything out of the local council tax or anything like that. So let's get that clear right from the start. And Stan and his team work effortlessly. And I know Stan had made it a goal of his. It's been going on many years. So his story, which he'll be relating to on Wednesday night, we'll have the complete picture just about what Ada Lovelace. And we've gone by the statue quite a few times, and it looked resplendent. I know that Anne, who was first, Anne Hunt said, sorry, I nearly forgot your name there, Anne Hunt said she was in Hinckley yesterday for Steph and Darren's wedding, and of course, right next door, and there was Ada glinting in the sunlight, and she looks absolutely marvellous. So it's great. And come along, everybody's welcome to our social night Wednesday. That starts at 7:30. Should be a nice little evening, as always, as we try and do. And while we're talking of social nights, a quick reminder that in April, don't miss this guy. Mr. Smallwood. He's coming to give us a talk as well. We love it when Mr. Smallwood comes. Eddie will be with us and talking about the origins of those nursery rhymes. The ones that are a bit gory, the ones that are a little bit sort of, probably wouldn't be allowed today. We're doing some of that. I always think of Goosey Goosey Gander when I say that, because Goosey Goosey Gander, where could you wonder? Upstairs, downstairs, in my lady's chamber. And then there I met a little boy who wouldn't say his prayers. I got him by the left leg and I threw him down the stairs. Why would you do that? That's all going to be apparent, as I say, in April when Eddie comes to talk to us about these nursery rhymes, disturbing ones. And we'll have Eddie back later in the year as well. We'll also be taking a couple of months off in the summer like we normally do for our social nights. So June and July we'll be off, so we can all go off on us holidays and then come back refreshed in September. So just put that in your diaries. There we go. Carol Beasley was telling me yesterday she's annoyed with all the WI things clashing with HDPPs. So much so, she's not going to go to the WI. In future, she's not paying her subs. She was telling me yesterday. Bless you, Carol. And as I say, well, we put these things on. We hope people will support them. There we go. Okay, then. So now it's time. While you're still working on those quiz questions, here's our final feature of the evening. Let's get back to the 1960s. We were so lucky, I think, to have grown up in the 1960s, particularly because some of the wonderful things that were going on in the world. You know, we had the flower power, and we had some of the best music. There's no doubt about that. That's for sure. And of course, the members are really remembered fondly here with this film from Mickey Bavington, who, as I say, is in the chat room. So if you want to say hi, Mickey, please do, because I know that he's watching and seeing what we're getting up to this evening. And as I say, this is one of his productions that he's done, and we're delighted to be able to show it to you this evening. So let's get me list in the right order. So settle back. Let's get back to the 60s. Let's jump in that time machine and go back and enjoy.
You may get some surprises, you may get some shocks or even some pleasant ones when we rewind back in British social history and look at what we could get for £1 in Britain in 1960. Whilst electrical items were much more expensive back then, everything else, if you compare inflation, was much cheaper. So that's what we're going to talk about today. What Brits got for their £1 note in 1960 compared to 2026. So let's get on with it. First of all, we must mention the average wage. According to the Bank of England statistics, a man over the age of 21 would earn an average weekly wage of £14.10, but the average working week back then was 48 hours. But today's 37.5-hour week, you would earn just under £10 weekly. In 2026, the average wage is £726, but I say this is the average, and I know that people earn much less. And it's also important to say that a pound in 1960 would be worth, according to the Bank of England's inflation calculator, the value of £20.21. But we do an actual fact calculation on the rise of just shopping items and services, and it works out at just under £13. So that's a big difference for a start. Prices are calculated in metric money for easy calculation, but if I can, I will do the imperial ones as well. You'll understand as I go along. So a loaf of bread was just under 5 pence in new money in 1960, and probably had far less additives as well. That works out at about £1 and a penny today. So 20 loaves of bread for your £1 back in 1960. Not even one loaf today. Well, not a decent one, as the average loaf of quality would be around £1.40. Discount stores, they sell bread for less, but fresh bread that doesn't have preservatives and never seems to stale sets you back much more. Staying in bread in 1960? Bread pudding with currants and suet. A pint of milk in a glass bottle that was much more recyclable, as the milkman would tick it straight from your doorstep, and it was priced at 3 new pence, whether gold top or not, which inflates to around 57p today. Now, buying a single pint of milk will set you back an average of 85 pence. That's in Tesco's. But many do buy a larger pack, maybe a 4 and 6 pint carton, which lowers the average quite a lot when you buy a pint. So you're working it out at about 41p supermarket prices for a pint if you buy the big cartons. But it is important to say here that many large supermarkets use milk as a go and get me item, normally underpricing it to get customers through the door. So for the 1960 price tag, you would get 33 pints for your £1. You could afford to be Cleopatra and bathe in the stuff. Butter was measured by the pound, so let's convert and calculate. Now, the avoirdupois calculation was standardised to an exact measurement in 1959. Hence, that's why I picked 1960, just so we could get a little bit more precise. So a pound in weight is worth 444 grams, around that. So let's work it down. Right, a pound of butter was just under 7 pence, so you could get 14 pounds of butter in weight for your £1. You ready for this? 6.35 kilos of butter for a £1. Today, if you wanted that much butter, you'd be paying £28.57, averaging at £4.50 per kilo, or £9.35 a pound. So, from 7 pence a pound in 1960 to £9.35 in 2026, eh? A butter mountain of your very own. Now, according to general inflation figures, that price should only have inflated to £1.81. Something went wrong, eh? A dozen eggs. Now let's take large eggs and free-range ones. I know they all vary massively, but the average price in 1960 for a dozen eggs was 3 shillings and 8pence, which is 18 pence in new money, or new pence if anybody remembers that. That suggests 5.5 dozen eggs, or precisely 66 eggs in 1960 for £1. Today you get about 4 single eggs for your £1 coin. Remember, large free-range ones though. But that's a 62 egg difference and a lot of omelettes. Egg, cheese, ham omelette with a bit of paprika. Spend £1, use 4 eggs. You remember when a tin of corned beef was the standard cupboard filler because it was cheap. After all, it was sent to soldiers during both wars. That's how long it's been around. And in 1960, the average 12-ounce tin would cost you 1 shilling and 11pence, which means 10p in new money. Easy one to work out, this one. You get 10 tins of corned beef for £1. Now that's according to general inflation, but it should work out at paying 69p today. Now, general inflation is calculated on every single item we buy, whether individual or corporate. So you got your fuel, gas, electricity, travel, clothes, household, all that. But food inflation, as we can see, is not indicative of these figures. And we can see that by noting a tin of branded corned beef is around £3.50 today in Tesco's. However, if you pop into Aldi, you can get a tin of a non-branded corned beef for £2.05. Has anyone tried it? Let me know in the comments. We're now moving on to baked beans. We'll use Heinz, as bean prices are so varied today, but I'll give you some prices of what I'll call decent brands later on. Now, in 1960, that tin of beans was an average of 4 new pence. So you could get exactly 25 tins of baked beans for your £1, probably with less sugar and probably with more tomato for your £1. But just out of interest, did you know that the recipe for Heinz beans has changed over a dozen times? And I bet it ain't for our behalf. The sauce is much sweeter today. I wonder if anybody else has noticed that. Now, I have seen Heinz baked beans sell for as much as £1.49 for a tin, or you could buy one of these multi-buys and buy 1,000 for about 600 quid. But the lowest price of beans I've seen is 27 pence, and they're from Aldi. Do me a favour, leave them on the shelf. But Bramwell's beans that you can get from Aldi or Lidl is 40 pence a tin, and they ain't bad. And my favourite is Branston. Branston beans with a richer sauce, 80 pence. Now, according to general inflation, the average should be 48 pence. Now, I've mentioned this before, but do you remember the supermarket bean war in 1994, when beans were as low as 4 pence a tin? Funny though, they never had a lamb chop or a fillet steak war, did they? Right, we are now going to go out on a night out in 1960. That'll be a bus ride to the pub, a packet of cigarettes, a few drinkies, and a fish and chip supper, and a taxi home. Let's find out the difference what we'd pay back in 1960 to today. 1960. A bus ride would be about an old penny. So that's for a short hop fare. So that would mean you get 240 bus rides today. So you could be on that bus for about 3 months, especially with the traffic. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Or am I? It's about £3 today for a single bus journey on average. So you'd get to the pub and you'd pay your average price for a pint of bitter, which would be 8 new pence. So that's 12.5 pints for your £1. The price today does depend on very much where you live. Many of us drink lager and real ale, so in the Midlands where I live it's around an average of £4 a pint. London prices I've seen as much as £7.50. Although Wetherspoons, if you like a dull evening, is much cheaper. So let's go for the £4 a pint, eh? You'll finish your night off with a short, or one for the lady. A short such as a brandy or a whiskey with a mixer would be 12p for a £1 in 1960, meaning that you could get 8 drinks for your £1, as if you could still stand up. Today's cost averages around £4.60. And as many more people smoked back in the 1960s, many pubs would sell you cigarettes from behind the bar and not using vending machines, so you get it at normal shop prices. And a packet of cigarettes for 20 would set you back at 19 new pence, so you would get 5 packs for your quid today. Looking at the average price today for a packet of cigarettes, 14 quid. Thank God I don't buy them anymore. Now your average short taxi ride, which was predominantly hail and ride, the black cabs, would be around 12p. Now the average mile fare is around £6 according to Uber, but it really is varied. But I can tell you this, I can remember a fare from Dagenham to Richmond was £3.90 in the mid-60s. Now that's for 34 miles. Now according to minicabbing.com, the fare would be an average of £93. So fish and chips today would cost you £12 on average. In 1960, just around 15 new p. So that's 7 portions for your pound. And I'm talking cod and haddock, not that cheap Alaskan pollock rubbish that sneaks into our meals today. Some pubs still serve that, and if you go to a certain restaurant, which I won't give the name away, it'll be unfair, but he was old and he had a farm, they don't use cotton either. So your night out in 1960, your bus fare, your 5 pints, your whiskey chaser, a packet of cigarettes, cod and chip supper to take home in your taxi, and it's strange how it's worked out, but it will cost you 99p, so a night out for a quid. Today, this is in the Midlands, £60 and 20 pence for that same night out. God blimey. Right, let's go and post a letter. And you could do, as long as it was 2 ounces or 57 grams, for under 2 new p. Meaning that you could post 50 letters off or send 50 Christmas cards if you got that many friends for that pound. There was no second class postage at the time. This would not be introduced until 1968, where second class was 2 new pence and first was 3 new pence. But the maximum weight had increased to 114 grams or 4 ounces. Prices didn't increase on postage again until 1971 with decimalisation. Now, very few people had home telephones in the 1960s. And one can understand why. And the reason being is because they were very expensive. There were no unlimited deals like that we get today. People had to pay for every single call that they made. And it depended on what time of the day that you placed your calls. So you had off-peak and on-peak. Peak time was during between 7 and 9 and early evenings, and after that people knew they had a cheaper rate of calls. Now calls were charged by the unit, and the unit would click over as soon as somebody answered the telephone, whether you were on the telephone for like 2 seconds or you used the full unit, however long that was going to be. So in 1960, very few people could afford to have telephones in their houses. So as you will see, when we compare a cost of having a home telephone in 1960 to today, you're going to be quite surprised of the difference in prices. Now a 12-minute call, which is a peak call, would normally run up to 2 units, and 2 units would cost 2p. That inflates to 41 pence today. If you decided to make a call off-peak, then you would use maybe 1 unit, and that would be a penny, which calculates at 21 pence today. Now a 3-minute trunk call, a trunk call is a long distance call more than 60 miles. And bearing in mind, if you're only on the phone for 3 minutes, that call would cost you 2 shillings or 10p. So that works out at £2 and 3 pence today. So half an hour chat is what you could get in 1960 for £1. Now we have to bear in mind that the standing charge in 1960 works out around £41 in today's money, 2026. Now the average standing charge, if you like, is £31 today. So that will be your internet, your landline and unlimited calls. And remember, this £41 was without you even making a call at all. So when I say it cost you absolutely nothing compared to 1960, in reality it was less than that. So yes, it's a hell of a lot cheaper to have and use a home telephone today than in 1960. Could you do with a coffee whilst juggling all these figures? Well, you will have paid 4 shillings in 1960, 20 pence for a 4-ounce jar. That's 114 grams. Tesco Nescafe price. Today in the same store they are flogging 100-gram jars of the same coffee for £4.35, slightly smaller jar. So for your £1 back then you could get precisely 570 grams of coffee. Today you'll get 23 grams for your £1. Larger jars obviously work out cheaper. Or if you want to get cheaper coffee, just buy Mellow Birds if you're not a coffee fan. Right, I'm just going to go off the rails here because I've got to jump to 1961 because Fray Bentos pies were just arriving in the country. But unfortunately I cannot find a price, but I did find some information that may shock you. Well, we all know that Fray Bentos pies have gone up in price and the average price is around £3. But if you look on this website, thebritishcornershop.com, and check out the price of a Fray Bentos pie, £7.29. I could not believe my eyes. Anyway, moving on. It's breakfast time and we're just about to have our cornflakes, which a branded box would have been 1 shillings and 8 pence. 8 new pence, giving you just over 12 boxes for your £1. Now Asda are advertising a similar sized box for £3.82. 8 pence worth may not be even in fact enough to fill your bowl. I'm not going to, but you could probably count them. Now I know what you're thinking. There are cheaper, just as good brands out there. I know, but I'm comparing like for like. And Aldi and Lidl, they weren't around in the 1960s. So there. Well, we've eaten and we've drank. Let's watch some TV. What's on tonight? Well, let's look at the good old Radio Times. It'll give you a rundown of all the TV and radio programmes because Google or BBC iPlayer were not around. That weekly magazine works out at 3 pence in new money in 1960. Compared to this, I was shocked. I read this online. I must admit I had to phone somebody just to get confirmation. £5.50 for a copy of the Radio Times. So in 1960 you got 99 weeks of Radio Times for that £1. That's an 18,500% increase. 3 pence in 1960 only have placed to 61 pence today. Makes you feel woozy, makes you feel unwell, listen to all this, but never mind, the doctor will write you a prescription, and in England you will pay £9.90. Now that prescription is not for the whole prescription, it's for each different medicine on it. Now I'm sure there was a time when the charge of that prescription was for the whole lot, regardless of how many different medications were on that form. In 1960, the charge for medication prescriptions was 2 shillings or 10 pence, which inflates to just £2 and 3 pence. So you could be ill 10 times for your £1, so to speak. There are of course more exemptions for this charge compared to yesteryear. People can subscribe to a monthly subscription and therefore pay a lower amount, or long-term and what is considered life-saving medication such as insulin or antiretrovirals for HIV patients are free, just for an example, regardless of your financial status. Well, that was a lot of information regarding old money and new money, and I really do hope that you managed to keep up with me, and I hope I haven't made any mistakes. Trust me, I literally picked every calculation site going to work out these figures, so there might be some margin of error, which I do apologise for. But if you want to know what your £1 was worth in, let's say 1971 or even 1981, those videos are also on my channel, plus other social history videos, mainly about Britain. So it just leaves me to say one thing: thank you so much again for watching, and bye for now. Now, I almost forgot about the Chocky bar, the chocolate bar. Hey, the original creamy milk one, not that rubbish that you get today full of bloody palm oil, and obviously slightly bigger. Now, surprisingly, a chocolate bar was 6 pence, which calculates at 2.5 pence in new money. When the money changed over, by the way, in 1971, that price from 1960 changed only by half a pence. However, it went down. The majority of chocolate bars in 1971 went to 2 new pence, which was a little bit cheaper than what they were paying before. Decimalisation wasn't brilliant for people, I know that, but I had to mention this one-off where people did save themselves, well, a tiny little bit of money. No.
Absolutely brilliant. Very interesting. Interesting facts and figures and comparisons and stuff. I think you worked very hard on that, Mickey. So thank you very much for your work on that one. That was fascinating, that way. And the chat room was going mad, actually, with all the different things that you were bringing up. And people said, oh, you should have that. And I mean, I used to have the old Freddie Bentos pie, but for that price now, no, I won't be doing that, but I used to love those things. I really, really did. But lots of memories recorded, as you can see, loads of things coming in there. So, yeah. And once again, fantastic there. And say, Mickey he's in the chat room. There he is. Look, you can see him. I'll just highlight him out. He's down here. Look, if you want to say hi and thank you or whatever you thought, put your comments in there. I know he's reading them anyway, so he'll get the general gist. But we're all a friendly lot here at HDPP. So thanks once again. Of course, in the future, when our live streams return, we'll feature some more of Mickey's work. It gives him plenty of time to do, I'm sure, which he does quite a few. So we'll have a little bit of a back catalogue, all being well. Look, lovely, great to see. Lovely to see those chat comments coming in. Right, we've been having the competition all night. Now, this is where Mickey, don't worry, Mickey. This is why I have to call order. Now then, class, pay attention. Now, before we even get to the quiz, no putting your answer in before I've asked you to put them into at the right time. So don't answer question 3 when I'm only on question 1. You'll be disqualified. Now, and no chatting at the back while we do this. This is serious stuff. We have to get it right. So that's before we even start to get to, because last week, it was quite funny. People started, I just started the segment at the end of the programme to say, right, let's go through the answers. And they're all at it, like, kids couldn't wait to get done and get out the rooms. And whoa, so we'll stop that. Yeah. Anyway, Anne's already started it. She said 0 for me because I missed it. Well, that's fair enough then. Anyway, look at that. Great. So here we go with the answers to the quiz. Now, as we get to each question, you can put your answers in. Okay, so let's start it off and we go straight to question number 1. What do the numbers 11, 69 and 88 all have in common? Right, okay. Tash is still on about last week. You said both of them. Oh, calm down, dear. It's just a competition. Right then, let's see how you're doing. Yeah, Mr. Smuggler is right, as is Jan Kirby. And and David said when they're turned all upside down, they all still read the same, which is generally the right answer. Yes, you're getting that right. Yeah, they're the same upside down. So how many of you had actually stood on your head to look at your phone or indeed your TV screen this evening to see that they're all the same? Yep, you're getting it right. Well done. Except Tash said, are they bush roots? No. But you got the answer. Well done. They're the same when you turn them upside down. You can see it now, can't you? Well done. So if that was your answer, give yourself a point as we move to question 2. Very quickly, well, you'll get this one. I don't think I'll even bother reading that out because it's very long-winded and stuff. However, we want to know why the man does not have wet hair. Let's see how many can get this right. You're getting it right, yes. I know this feeling almost well. Yes, yeah. You're correct. The guy's bald, a bit like me. Yeah. The man was bald, that's why he hasn't got a wet hair. Well, he hasn't got any wet hair because he's bald and he didn't wear it. You got it, so well done. Tash Jenny says bowl. I think she needs bold, but we'll add that, yes. Definitely, that's the right answer. The guy was bold, so that's 2 points. So you give yourself a point, so it should be 2 points so far out of a possible 4. Well, I've got a feeling some people are going to get 4 this evening. So, what is the only country named after a woman? I have the answer here. I did research it. It was on the internet, so it's got to be right. So let's see if anybody gets this right. Oh, actually, that's an interesting answer from Pat Galloway. However, not the one we're looking for, Pat. Thank you very much. However, clever little Jane's come through with it. So is the Starnboroughs this evening. And the correct answer, with a few others, is St. Lucia. St. Lucia. That's the official one. I can't speak for Georgia, but I understand, Pat, where you're coming from. The same with you, Jan. But it was not the particular answer we were looking for. Okay. Mr. Smugly put India. Oh, no. Does that mean that Mr. Smugly doesn't get 4 out of 4? No. Jeff Wallace said Riga. No. The one, yeah, I know a woman called India. Here we go. There's some things I could say here, but I'm not going to go any further. The answer I am looking for this evening, as I say, is St. Lucia. That's the answer I'm accepting tonight, okay? Mike's consultant was called Georgia. Yeah, well, maybe it was. Yeah. Oh, there's so much I could say, but I'd be banned. There's a couple of things, retorts I could use there, but I'm not going to. Let's go on to the popular local pub, and I know we've used this before, and I'm sure most of you will get this. Inkwell's Lasting Termite, a popular local pub. Let's see who comes in with the right answers this evening. And I'll tell you what I hadn't done this evening, and I do apologise. I forgot to put the chat in on the screen so you can see the answers coming in. Sorry about that. Too busy playing referee here. But anyway, the correct answer we're looking for, of course, is the Lime Kilns on the Watling Street, of course, very popular. I've not been to the Lime Kilns for many a year. So once again, I could have said a comment there, which probably wouldn't have gone down very well. But anyway, there you go. And Carol still said, I've never heard of a woman called Saint. Anyway, as I say, as for the pub, it's the Lime Kilns, Watling Street. Well done. Now it's the time when you have to play honest with me, and you put your scores in. And Alan Kropp, as always, comes in with 2 for us. Yippee! He's off to celebrate. He wants to know why I'm not going down the cellar. I've got a bad leg, mate. I've got a bad leg. But I'm sure it'll be all healed and well and fit for our autumn lot. Anyway, let's go down the scores. 3 for Daniel Coburn tonight. Well done, Daniel. We'll see you on Wednesday night at the social night. 2 for Jan Kirby. Pat's got just the one, but listen, you got one and you had to go. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Dangerous Den, 2 for him tonight. 3 out of 4 for Jeff Wallace. Well done. 4 for little Jane Brown tonight. Well done, with a big smiley face, of course. 3 for the Starnboroughs and 2 for Carol. And David's got 4, sort of. Okay, sort of, right then, okay. And and Mickey Babington's had a go, right? It says, only 2 here. Well, you had a go, mate. And it's been great for you to join us live for our last one of the season tonight. Mr. Smugly here. 3, if you're not allowing India. Soon you won't be able to say, I'll work at Myra. So he knows these things now. And I know I'd seen earlier on, said John is due to retire. He's got about 100 hours left, and then he retires. Not that he's counting, you understand. So there we go. So that's the competition done, all with. And yeah. Oh, and David said, I put Lucia, not St. Lucia. I'll give you that. I'm feeling generous. Our last broadcast of the season. We've been broadcasting since it was late October. We've done the clocks and we've got you through these horrible dark nights. That was the whole point of doing the live streams. The live streams originally started during COVID. We tried to think of a way which we could keep the group together, because obviously back in those days we couldn't meet or do. Remember those days of COVID? They were awful days, really. And we're still feeling the repercussions of a lot of that even today. So the idea of a live stream was just to keep us all together, and it's worked. And I just felt it would be a good idea just to do it through the dark winter months, whereas, as I say, next week, it'll still be light at 7:30 at night, and you might much rather be outside enjoying the lighter nights rather than looking at this silly old face for another night. But in the meantime, Sue and I want to wish you well. We hope to see you once again to our social nights and all the various other events that we're about. We're doing, by the way, the for the local museum, we'll be doing our talk of tiptoe through the tombstones of Sparrow's Garden in April. So come along. That's going to be the first public showing of our DVD, all about the cemetery. You know how well that's sold locally, and also, indeed, you know, it'll be exciting. It's going to be exciting for people to sit and watch it, you know, as an audience. It'll be great to see that as well. So looking forward to that. I think that's about the 16th of April. I think that is off the top of my head. So, but you'll see it on the museum website. So we're looking forward to that. Right. So all it remains for me to say, got some lovely comments coming in as well. But once again, Dennis is saying, thank you, Paul and Sue. The live streams keep us entertained and having a laugh. Yeah. We're both Sue and I have to give full credit to Sue as well, because, I mean, without having a wonderful work she's done behind the scenes. It's Sue behind me, really, that keeps me going at a lot of this. And so she's stepping down as looking after all the financial parts of the group, and I'm delighted to say that Jan and Dennis are going to take that role. It's going to be a big help. Give Sue some time off. She's done it for the last 10 years, and I think she richly she deserves to retire along with Mr. Smugly. So there we go. And thank you for your lovely messages in this evening. It's been really, really good. And say thank you, Mickey, for joining us tonight. That's been great. As I say, we'll be back the first dark night we have when we do the clocks back. So it'll be the last weekend of October thereabout. But we will still be very much live on Facebook as far as our posts every day and stuff and whatnot. And if anybody finds any interesting pictures, we're always interested. Who knows? Somebody in the group might even do a book. However. Have a great time. Thanks for all your messages. And as I say, until the autumn, have a great summer. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Be healthy. And as I say, look forward to seeing you on the other side of summer. Till then, take care. Ta-da.
We're making history. HDPP chapter opposes supporting local causes. Streaming HDPP live. Betty is our queen bee. As sweet as honey can be. Dangerous den here again. HDPP live. Hey, you know I keep it HDPP.
And for those that have never known this, and this is true, you know to hang around right at the end, because we never talk about this little bit I do at the end. I love my dad jokes. They are brilliant, even if I say so myself. And this is where I just read a few little dad jokes out before I disappear. And already, actually, Alan, I like your dad joke this evening. He says, and I like this one. He says, I used to work for a company that made submarines, but it went under. Yeah, I know. It's terrible, isn't it? Well done. So here's my selection of dad jokes tonight. What do Alexander the Great and Winnie the Pooh have in common? They both have the same middle name. What? When does Sean Connery arrive at Wimbledon? Or tennis. That weren't bad. What do cats eat on sunny days? Mice cream cones. Talking of sheep, where do sheep get their hair cut? At the barber shop. These are good. I'm liking these tonight. These are good. Why is rowing such a popular sport? Because it's awesome. And finally, what goes woof, woof, tick, tick? Yes, it's a watchdog. Absolutely. Have a great summer. See you soon. Bye-bye.